Alright, all, like I suggest, today we're going to be doing an upgrade, or I believe it's going to be an upgrade, to the cooling solution of the Mini ITX build that I put up here on the channel. When I did that video, I couldn't find my Wraith Spiral cooler that came with the 2700, so I had to use the Hyper T4. If you haven't seen me build the Mini ITX system, I'll put a link to it up here for you if you can go watch that if you'd like to. But I couldn't find the Wraith Spiral cooler that came with the 2700, so I had to use the Hyper T4. By putting it in this case, it caused a few situations that I think it may be causing the CPU to overheat. Which, number one, because it sits vertically on the motherboard, I had to remove the exhaust fan from the back of the case, which I'm not happy with. And all the hot air that comes out of the CPU is being blown against the solid side panel where there's no ventilation, which I also believe that may be causing the CPU to heat up warmer than what it should be. But now, since I got the new cooler came in, I did have to order me the new Wraith Spiral cooler. And I am going to be putting the exhaust fan back in the back of it. I'm going to see if it's going to help with the temperatures or not. For the testing that I did today, I do run Heaven Benchmark on a loop. I also run Prime 95 to test the CPU. I run for both of about 10-15 minutes to see what they maximize at. I think it's about 10 minutes I ran. And we're going to see if it actually helps or not. Here comes the time lapse of me upgrading this cooling solution in this Mini ITX build. And then I'll be also showing you the numbers and what the difference is, and then I'll be back with my conclusion to the video. Right on. So that's the way I went about updating the cooling on this mini ITX build. But now, a lot of you probably get curious to know, and I was curious myself till I figured it out. Was it really worth the time and the money that I spent to get that done, and did my CPU see any better improvements? Alright guys, right here on the right hand side, you can see at the top it is listed as Hyper T4. After the 10 minutes of Prime 95 running, I was seeing max temperature of about 64.6 degrees. And over here with the AMD Wraith Spire LED cooler, I've seen about 63 degrees. Also had Heaven Benchmark running in the background, which I didn't get a screenshot of it, but the GPU, it stayed about the same. It was reading about 80, 81 degrees throughout the whole time. With or without the exhaust fan, it really didn't matter. You know, it only came down by about 1.5 degrees difference on the CPU. So by switching out the coolers and putting that exhaust fan back in the back of this case, it dropped it by about 1.6, 1.5 degrees difference. And while I went with 10 minutes, the 10 minutes after the 10 minutes, they got about up to the max of where the temperature was hitting, was about max. Then they started coming back down a little bit, fluctuating downwards instead of keep going up. Which means to me, it shows me that the temperature, that's about the max of what the temperature we're gonna reach. That's why I cut it off after about 10 minutes. What did I learn from doing all this? Well, I learned that I wasted $40, because that's about what I paid for that other cooler. I spent about 40 bucks. And about 45 minutes I guess it was for me to actually tear in that the mini ITX build and change out that air cooler. So I wasted about $40 for nothing. And I wasted about 45 minutes of my time for nothing. You know, that 1.5 degrees difference in the two, it really ain't gonna make a difference in your everyday usage, or if you're gaming, or if you're creativity, or whatever. You know, that, you know, a lot of people are gonna even work out up to, you know, just an error. Which I was using Hardware Info 64 for my temperature testing. I don't see that where this was much of an upgrade, you know, by putting on the Wraith Spire cooler and putting that exhaust fan in the back of the case. It didn't help my temperature on my GPU or CPU enough to justify the $40 cost and the 45 minutes to change it out. One thing you can take away from this, which I've said it, and a lot of other people say it, you know, if you're just starting out building, don't go with mini ITX build. And that's why. If this was a regular size case, it'd have been a 10-minute swap out for that air cooler. But because of the size of the case and the compact of it, you know, you have to take out the graphics card. You take the motherboard completely out. If it was a micro ATX case or an ATX case, you reach in there, you pop the Hyper T4 off, pull it out, slap the new cooler on, you go on your way. But because it is a mini ITX, they are a lot harder to build in. It is more time consuming. I guess that is one good thing you can take away from this video, is just to kind of show you the process of what you have to do when you're working with a mini ITX build. And keep this in mind when you build your own PC. I think that's going to pretty well wrap it up for today's video, guys. Make sure you go down and give me a like if you like this kind of content. There's that dislike button if you don't. Maybe consider hitting that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. That way you're notified next time I put a video or go live here on YouTube. There's also a comment section below. I also go through them every weekend on my live stream here, Saturday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the US. And if you're interested, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I don't care your inbox, but I do put up photos of new stuff I have coming in to give you an idea of what's coming up on the channel. Or if there's anything that changes with my live stream, if I gotta change the time or I gotta cancel it, that's where you also get that notification. But with all that being said, you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.